Hi guys, this is Whitney and welcome back to another episode of Spastic Chatter. If you didn't know, Spastic Chatter is a platform meant to feature those in the Cerebral Palsy community, and I get together weekly with individuals with CP, like myself, to have an uncensored chat, if you will, about what it's like living with this type of disability. And for this week, I took to Instagram again, guys. I say that a lot, but that's where I find all of the people, all of the awesome people to interview. And this week I have Emily, and she has I found a blog post by Emily that I thought was really had a unique perspective, and it was all about her invisible disability with cerebral palsy. So I'm going to let Emily introduce herself, and then we will get on to the conversation. So take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emily Vilsack. I'm currently living in Mexico. I'm a remote working for a charity in Calgary, Alberta. I'm heading home back to Canada in about a week. And yeah, I live with really mild, high-functioning cerebral palsy. And so, like I talk about in my blog post called I have the superpower of invisibility, I can absolutely figure out how to kind of keep my cerebral palsy hidden. And it's been something I've struggled with my whole life, is whether or not to, make it known or hide it. And so I'm really happy to be here.
Awesome. So so we'll just jump right into it. Like what stood out for me from what you just said was you can choose to disclose your disability. So when you're can you talk about your thoughts on disclosing your disability? When do you disclose to your when you're meeting somebody, when you develop that relationship, or do you tell them that you have cerebral palsy, or is it just a part of you and they just accept it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally speak to that. So I find that I'm not disabled enough to be disabled in that community, and I'm not able-bodied enough to be in the able-bodied community. So I'm caught in this super weird middle, because technically I am disabled. I do have cerebral palsy. That's my diagnosis. But I can absolutely pass as able-bodied in the community. And it absolutely has some advantages, especially living in a very ableist society that we live in. It does really work to my advantage to be able to hide it and really operate in that ableist society. But for most of my life, I felt like I had to prove something to whoever it was, whether I was applying for a job or going on a first date or meeting a new friend. I felt like I had to prove something to them before I told them about my CP. And I think as I get older, I'm realizing that I don't actually have to prove anything to anyone, and being disabled is really normal, and I do want to advocate for that and kind of shift the narrative and shift the perspective about how normal being disabled or having a disability is. I really want to shift that perspective. So I think I'm starting to be more open about it, but for most of my life, I usually would not disclose my disability until someone noticed it and asked me about it.
It's interesting that you feel like you have to prove to something before you would disclose, because it's the same. It's essentially the same. With me, I obviously my disability is more visible, but I feel like I have to prove myself that much more because my disability is so visible. And I think it's interesting that you're saying that your disability is more invisible, but you still have that thought in the back of your head that you have to prove yourself that much more because of your disability. So I think that's a very interesting point
Yeah, and I think feeling the need to prove yourself is not unique to the disabled community. Like I think a lot of people struggle with that and feel like they need to prove whatever it is to someone before showing their whole self. And it's, to me, it's quite unfortunate that we can't just feel comfortable to show up as our whole selves upon the first meeting when we're making that first impression. But it's the reality of the ableist society that we live in.
Yeah, and it's, I don't know, but I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel like it's become more apparent that we live in an ableist society in today's world in 2021. I feel like it's become way more apparent than it was back when we were kids. Like I feel like it's more of an issue now than it ever has been before. And maybe that's just because we're adult. I'm an adult now and I see things differently. But
Yeah.
but
I think it's always been a problem, and it's only recently come into like my sphere of knowledge, noticing it. But I think what is really cool is as we challenge the dominant narratives, whether it's racism or sexism or discrimination against gender identities. I think what we find is that as we dig into these issues, we're really beginning to understand and move forward in making our world more inclusive, more diverse, more equitable, and important for us, more accessible, So I think accessibility is more of a almost like household or common term than it was when we were kids.
yeah, those are very good points. So taking it back to your blog post, what kind of made you want to write the post and like put it on your blog for everybody to see? Was there a point? Was there something that happened in your life, or was it just an outlet for you?
To be honest, I had signed up for a writing course. So I'm in marketing and communications. And so I do a lot of writing for companies or clients, but I don't do a lot of writing about my personal story. So I had signed up for a writing course, and I never thought that I was going to publish about my disability, to be completely honest. But we did one exercise in the writing course that was really powerful, and it kind of brought up some emotions for me. And I really began feeling like I haven't been like my truest whole self publicly. Like I've shared my story. If I'm doing some small public speaking engagements, I'll share my story about my disability or with my friends and family. But in terms of social media, I would do everything I could to hide it. Mm-hmm. And then with this writing course, I kind of thought, like, I wonder if there's other people that have similar experiences. And I started taking to the internet to do some research, and I realized, yeah, there are. And it's so messed up that we talk about being disabled as disabled or able-bodied. Like, I think it's more of a spectrum than anything. And I think the benefits for making our world more accessible, the benefits are not just for disabled people. They are for everyone. Like making a more accessible world makes it easier for everyone, not just people that identify as disabled.
Yep, I totally agree. And that goes, this all ties back to the ableist mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what have you received any like positive, like has anybody reached out to you specifically about your blog post? Like, have you created a conversation like with people that you didn't think if you didn't think that would happen? Has those conversations happened?
Yeah, I honestly am so surprised by the response that the article has gotten. It got published in an online publication called An Injustice magazine. It got published there, and it got some more views. And And I've had people like you reach out to me. I'm going to be on 3 podcasts because of the article, which is so exciting and a little bit scary because I haven't shared my story really publicly up until this point, but I feel really ready for it. I've gotten 3 podcast offers. Some people have published some other work that I've done because of it. Gained a bit of social media traction on it as well. So it's been a really positive response. I actually have not gotten one like hater comment or something negative said about it, which is incredibly surprising.
I know. I'm surprised by that.
Yeah, and the thing that was like really shocking to me is how evident it is that we live in an ableist society, that for most of the people that read that article, I had already proven myself. And the sad part is if someone had just, shared that story from the beginning, or maybe even had a visible disability, maybe the result would have been different. And that's incredibly, incredibly sad that that's the world that we're living in, just because I look what people would call normal, which is not even a real word anyways.
Yeah, exactly. No, that reminds me that like you're saying that you didn't get any like troll comments, hate comments, when like your disability is more invisible, like we keep saying, like, and like when I post stuff like on my YouTube and pictures, or not really pictures, but like especially my YouTube where you can visibly see that I have a disability, I get so many trolls because I feel like the more disabled are, the more different you appear, the more outside the norm. Like you get, the more trolls you get.
Yeah, it's really so sad. And I talk about in my article how many people that are disabled, we trade our truth for another person's comfort, right? And I think it's huge kudos to you for pushing through that and putting out these YouTube videos and everything that you do, because you're changing that narrative, you're shifting that perspective, and I guarantee there's going to be so many people helped because of it. And also the trolls, it's just sad because they clearly don't have anything better to do with their time than send you mean comments, and that's even more sad than the actual comments that they're putting on.
Like that that brings up a good point that I always talk about, is the reason that the podcast is called Spastic Chatter is because I'm essentially calling out my spasticity before anybody else, and I'm owning the fact that it takes me longer to talk, that I look funny that I look not normal, that I look normal when I talk. Like I'm owning that, and I'm calling it out before anybody else can.
And that's awesome. That is totally claiming your power, because no one can take away that power if you're claiming it first, right? And by doing that, I think that kind of work that we're doing and sharing our story is going to shift the narrative. I do believe it.
Yeah. And then one other point that I wanted to touch on really fast that I just thought of, like when you shared your post, there's this whole like, I don't know if I'm blanking on the word right now. I want to call it a stigma or whatever, but I don't think it's a stigma. There's this whole culture of inspiration porn. Like you're so inspirational. Like did you receive like a good amount of those kind of comments where they mean well, but you're basically just sharing your story, and like if they find it inspiring, that's great, but you're just basically living your life.
Yeah. No, totally. I've really come up against that, and I've noticed it in the disabled community as something that's really common. And, I always get asked like how I respond to that. And I agree with you. It's like, it's not very inspirational to be living your life like really normally, like very normally, whatever normal looks like for you or me or anybody else. And so a comment that I get really often when people find out I'm disabled is they say, "Oh, you walk really well." And I say, and my new comment back to them is, "Oh, so do you." And they're like, "Oh, dang, maybe I shouldn't have said that,"
Exactly.
Like, if I turned that same comment on them, how would they feel? "Oh, you're such an inspiration for going for a walk."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. That's funny. That's funny. That sounds like a comment that I would make. Like, whenever I get comments like that, it's so awkward because I'm so sarcastic that they're like caught off guard. Like, you didn't say that. Like, yeah. Well, if you're gonna be that ignorant, like you expect a sarcastic response. But then again, there's a time and place for everything. So I'm a do as I say type person, not do as I do. So
yes. Yes.
Yeah,
and it's so funny. We'll get labeled inspirational, and then we'll make a funny remark, and they're like, "Wow, you're inspirational and funny." It's like, yeah, of course I am. I'm funny, and I'm smart, and I'm pretty, and I'm normal. Like, I really want to get away from the inspiring language. If I'm using my disability and I'm creating workshops for other disabled children or youth and helping them through their challenges, okay, maybe I'm inspirational, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm making a difference. But going for a walk, that's not that inspirational.
Yeah. Or like I've gotten it. I can't tell you how many people, like, I will be at a bar. I've tried this on being uncensored, so I'm just gonna like say it. I will be intoxicated, and I will have people come up to me and be like, "You're so inspirational." I get, dude, I'm at a bar. Like, that's not inspirational. But like, I see it as, yeah, it's cool if I inspire you, but what does that inspiration lead to? Like, that inspiration needs to lead to motivation. Like, if I motivate you to do something and you actually follow through with like doing steps, then that's awesome. But like, you can say that I inspire you all day, but like, what is that ultimately doing? Like,
yeah. And if you're saying that you're inspired and then you're not doing anything to change the ableist narrative, then what's the point,
Exactly. So at the end of every episode, I always ask my guests if they have any advice for others. So Emily, do you have any advice for somebody who maybe falls on the less severe side of CP, and like, do you have any advice for like how to?
Yeah, I would say like really challenge yourself not to hide it. Like, you don't have to shout it from the rooftops if you don't feel comfortable, but please, please, please don't trade your truth for other people's comment or comfort. Let me repeat that. Don't trade your comfort, your truth for other people's comfort. Wow, that was a mouthful. I don't know why that was so hard. Don't trade your truth for other people's comfort. I really hope you can edit that out.
We're gonna leave it at it. It's gonna be okay. I get tongue tied all the time, so it's fine.
Okay, it's uncensored. Don't trade your truth for other people's comfort. That's my advice.
That is awesome advice. So I'm gonna link flag in the description so people can check it out. But where can people find you on social media?
Yeah. You can find me at Emily_Vilsack.com. My last name is spelled V as in Victor, ILC as in Charlie, S as in Sam, AK. And if you want to reach out to me via email, you can do that as well. It's Emily@Eve, EVE, communications with an S.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Emily, for being a guest on Spastic Chatter. I had a really good time talking with you. And if you're watching this and you want to be on an episode of Spastic Chatter, just comment wherever you see this video, and I'd love to have you on. But check back next week for another episode. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for having me.